Hey, everybody, it's Nate Therian. Welcome to Nate's Pop-Up Podcast. In this episode, I am sitting down with Chris Madden from Stump. Stump, Chris, I'll let you do the 2-minute intro if you want to let everybody know what it is you're working on, what your startup is all about. The floor is yours. Hit it.
Yeah, so the mission of Stump is to democratize democracy. What that means is for campaigns, we have a starter kit. So no longer are you going to have invisible candidates that you don't know anything about. So we make it easy for them to build an online presence, collect signatures to get on the ballot, and really build a strong campaign for voters. We show who's going to be on your ballot instantly all in one place. So no more navigating municipal websites, campaign Facebook pages with 20 followers, all that jazz. So that's where we're starting.
So we'll go. What was the tagline? Democratizing Democracy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is give a shout out to Ben Maitland,
The man.
the myth, the legend, the guy with the busted leg. Ben gave you that tagline.
Yeah, he refactored, all the breadth and, trying to boil the ocean here a little bit. And he gave a clear, concise tagline that resonates for everyone involved in local government, right? So,
man. Okay. So just before we get into the meat and potatoes of what Stump is, what gave you the idea to do this to begin with? What's the backstory as to what got you to the point where it's like, okay, you know what? There's a problem here. I want to solve it. I'm going to go after this.
Yeah, a couple things. First, just watching TV and seeing ads for political candidates in New Hampshire, here in Massachusetts. I was like, I get the TV blocks, but that's poorly targeted advertising. And I think my radar was up from there. And then a couple years of doing hours and hours of research about, local elections in my city of Somerville, and a ton of frustration, and started digging into the numbers and looking at turnout and evaluating the digital presence of different campaigns. And, after speaking to more candidates, I came to appreciate it's really a problem because we don't serve local candidates. Folks running for school committee, select board, even town meeting member, they're sort of invisible. And so the goal is to remove that friction. People want to be involved in their local community, but there's just a ton of barriers. And so Stump is here to remove those barriers and make it easier for everyone.
All right, so you're local from Somerville.
Live in Somerville. I'm actually from Southern Maine, but came to Boston for college. So
all right, so you're in Somerville, and this is where you kind of got your you scratched the itch for local government. Would that be?
Yeah, I guess I was sort of a single issue voter. I think Somerville's got a rat problem, so I was looking for my rat man on the ballot. Who's going to fix this problem? And nobody was talking about it. None of the candidates said anything, and I know it's an issue from speaking to my neighbors and friends that live in Somerville.
Let's set the table on this. So when you say rat problem, you mean like rats? Rats.
Like there's a lot of restaurants, ton of construction going on, and it's not a unique issue to many cities, but should be pretty simple. All right. And you got all the trash cans with holes in them, and you look at like all the 311 data, it's out there. People are concerned about it. They want a solution, but none of the campaigns run on that. And so it seems like an opportunity. And again, Stump can provide that data from voter input and, bring in some of that municipal data. So lots of opportunity there.
I want to get back to this thing with so the itch that you had to scratch was you're in Somerville, and this just like, it's like a New York City subway or something down there with like rats that, big as your head. And they're just like.
Not in the buildings, just on the streets.
Just on the streets.
Yeah, okay, you're walking home late at night.
Yeah, well, that'll still scare the hell out of you.
Yeah.
You'll see one of those beasts come out of the woodwork. So when you started looking into trying to find somebody to fix this, so you started looking, trying to kicking rocks, trying to find a politician, or even, within local government, all right, who's the person who's actually going to be able to fix this problem? And then what?
Yeah, well, even upstream from that, like, what are my options here? And there weren't a ton. I think there were 5 candidates for 4 open seats. And so you're trying to do your diligence and first understand, okay, who are the people that are running for this position? Second is like, what have they said about this? What's their platform? And are they likely to actually solve this problem? And again, after hours and hours of research, watching videos, scrolling through the websites, came up empty. And I think that additional point of reaching out to candidates and filling out a contact form and then hearing nothing back, that's not an effective public service, right? Like that's we can't accept that level of service from from the people that work for us in our communities. And so people are hungry for transparent, responsive government, and Stump's here to facilitate that.
Wow. So you actually went out and tried to basically bend someone's ear on this. You actually went out there and tried to track down the politicians. And once you actually did track down the politicians, because you actually found some people, but they were, let's just call it less than responsive.
Yeah, and a lot of the content, and maybe this is like a generational bias here, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to Google, right? I'm going to Google and look on the social pages, and folks have busy lives, so I think expecting them to attend every rally and things like that's not realistic in this day and age. So rely a lot on like the asynchronous resources. So yeah, going through the websites, filling out contact forms, watching videos. That's kind of like the old guard and what Stump's going to end up replacing, right? So our platform is location based. So you open up joinstump.com, shows you all the campaigns, candidates that are on the platform, and then it's a chat interface, right? So you just ask the question that's on top of mind for you, and you're going to get a response based on the data that the campaigns have provided. So there's, fast and easy data acquisition for the voters, right? So they can get the relevant information and make an informed decision. And then it's signal for the candidates, right? So they can understand what's on voters' minds. And a lot of other campaign services on Stump too that we're building out. But starting there.
So let's just kind of, we'll bring it back to the beginning of Stump as the product now. Now we kind of like set the table as like, why did Chris even do this? Because he was getting his toes ripped off by big rats in Somerville and basically couldn't find a politician who would, let's just say it wasn't a winner. It might not have been a winner.
In government, in local politics, it's an industry, right? And it's an underserved group, right? Folks running for school committee and city council, they've got their set of tools that they're used to, but I think expecting like a retired school teacher running for school committee to set up their own website on Wix or Squarespace, be SEO optimized, integrate all of the productivity tools so that they can, like distribute lawn signs and organize volunteers. That's not realistic, and it's not a great setup for them. That's just an artificial hurdle that we can solve with technology. Nobody's done it, right? Yeah. And so that's the space that I'm trying to fill, and I think the default tool is Facebook because people are familiar with it. It's built-in distribution, but it's a polarized channel, and there's the whole Cambridge Analytica thing, and there's definitely an appetite for a different space here.
Okay, so getting into, and this we may be repeating a little bit, but just to give this, you gave like the 30-second pitch.
Yeah.
What would be like? Okay, you're sitting in a room with a VC. You're sitting in a room with a VC. If you were going to position Stump in like a 2 or 3 minute elevator pitch, what would that sound like?
Yeah, so this is the entry point for local government on a national scale, right? And we're starting with the magic moment of elections because that's when everyone can exercise the right that we really protect dearly here in this country. But most people don't exercise it because it's just so hard to get the information. There's all that existing friction. So we're building a platform to, again, fill a void on the campaign front for these new candidates, also for the municipalities, and just make that information a lot more accessible, help campaigns execute effective voter engagement and voter outreach, and also like listening, right? So finding the right audience to provide feedback to govern effectively. And the next step from there is actually having local government function and continue to be responsive and filling vacancies in local boards and commissions, because that's a huge additional problem too. People want to be involved, but they're not going to attend, the town meeting every, couple of weeks and sit through that 3 hours, right? And there's just a ton of municipal data and local election data that is siloed and really trapped with a lot of these candidates. And we're going to tease that data out and solve problems for voters and campaigns. I don't know if that rounds out the VC conversation, but again, it's a big industry. There's billions of dollars spent in elections.
Good Lord, yes.
Yeah. And again, it's top heavy in federal, crowds out state and local. But LA, for example, in 2022, there was $170 million spent in that election cycle. And that's just one major city. Granted, it's a really big city.
I mean, you want to go local. I mean, you want to go local and you want to go recent. You go to the Wisconsin, the Wisconsin election for the state superior court, one of the judges. And there's, Elon Musk cutting $1 million checks for people, just handing them out on the streets.
Yeah.
Literally, something very close. It looked like he was giving away checks that came off of the Price is Right lot or something with those things. They were just big, let's make a deal, you win checks.
Well, there's a lot of tailwinds
checks.
There's that, and it's sort of like the political casino now these days, right? You've got event-driven outcome platforms like Kalshi, Polymarket. You've got coins being launched, and I think there are going to be markets forming around this, and I think that's going to draw people in. Obviously, it's not all good. There's pros and cons, but hopefully that'll drive more attention around what's going on in people's neighborhoods and allow more people, especially young folks, to engage and pay attention.
So with respect to the audience, because you mentioned that there's the platform if you're you're a local and you want to run for government,
right? And
there's just like a starter kit, and we'll get into that in a minute. And then there's also the side for the voters, which is information. And like you said, it's siloed, and you want to get that unsiloed and get it out there to the masses, so people can educate themselves. Are those the two primary audiences for Stump right now? Is both sides of the equation?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if I wanted to run for city council of Somerville and clean up the rat problem, if I wanted to do that, what would be on Stump that would help me do it? Yeah.
So I think the three biggest hurdles that Stump's hoping to tackle for these new campaigns, it's collecting signatures to get on the ballot. A lot of candidates run as write-ins because they don't get their stuff together in time, or it can take a lot of time depending on the municipality and office you're running for. Building an online presence without having to start from scratch with one of the website builders. So you fill in an intake form, it's 5 maybe 10 minutes, and then you're on our platform. Right, and you can share.
So you got like a website builder, not
a website builder. So you just fill in like an intake form, and then you have a profile that's generated on joinstump.com. So anyone in your area, right? So in Somerville, if you're in Somerville, you'll have a HQ address, and then anyone in Somerville logging in, you're going to see a map, and then all of the candidates grouped by the office that they're running for, right? So depending on like the district, you'll be able to see, okay, these are the candidates in my neighborhood, and then you can click into the profile and see, a little bit about their background. There's calls to actions, right? So if you want to volunteer on their campaign, if you want a lawn sign, that's all built into Stump already. So collecting signatures to get on the ballot, building an online presence without starting from square one, and also building a team, right? So a lot of campaigns struggle with getting volunteers to be engaged. I think that's a function of people not knowing that they're necessarily running for office. And there's a lot of opportunities to help campaigns farm their network more effectively. Also with fundraising, right? So there's a lot of, I think another potential user group that we're not tapping into, but groups that want to advance specific causes that are aligned with a local candidate, right? So if there's a group that wants to champion rodent elimination in cities, right? They don't necessarily know that Nate's running for Somerville City Council, and so that's part of the data silo. Yeah, so I think a lot of it's going to be more front of mind issues like housing, right? So and being able to, or I think bike lanes are a big issue, right? So organizations that want to champion those interests, being able to find the right campaigns to align with and potentially endorse, that's definitely an opportunity. So generally the third bucket would be helping support these new candidates, building a team, and filling skill gaps.
So that would be like the candidate side. I'll put that in the candidate silo. For the public, Is this just in terms of the engagement and what you're trying to do, and ultimately how it would build out and how it would look and how it would feel if I'm a voter. This time I'm not trying to run for something. This time I'm trying to vote for somebody.
Right.
So if I'm on Stump and I'm like, I gotta find like the city councilor or the ward guy or whoever's on this, the school board or something like that. And how does that look and feel if I'm a voter?
Yeah. So again, it's a location-based platform, and we don't have all like the shape files. One of the challenges here is, there's like 30,000 local governments. They all have their own precincts and districts. So it's a sea of data that's hard to wrangle, and they all kind of operate with their own system. But for the voter, again, it's proximity, right? So you open up the joinstump.com, you're going to filter out the noise for people running in California, Texas. That's not going to show up on your radar, and you're just going to be able to see on a map, okay, these are the candidates in the offices that are near me. You can view their individual profiles, and it's chat first, right? So you use the chat bot, I call it the ballot bot, and ask it a quick question, right? Like, hey, how is this candidate going to tackle the rat issue in Somerville? And you're going to get a response, and the response might be, okay, this candidate hasn't talked about rodent control here in Somerville. So, okay, that's not necessarily a core part of their platform today. And then hopefully the candidates and campaigns can catch on and better understand, okay, this is something that people care about. So it's bidirectional signal there.
So when did you start Stump?
About a year ago.
About a year ago. So at the very beginning, you're on day zero. Where are you now that you're a year in?
Yeah, a lot of pivoting. This started as more of a Tinder for local elections and being able to swipe left or right on certain issues and kind of match against the candidate that represents you the most effectively or champions your interest more effectively. And I tested that on myself a couple times in different elections and like, all right, does this feel right? And I felt like, okay, just issue-based doesn't give a complete picture. So layered in more about, professional background and experience. Campaign finance is a huge part of the picture, right? Does this candidate have the juice to actually win? Or, are there some front runners that are make a little bit more sense to pick from? So that's where it started. So it was like a SurveyMonkey tool with some Google Sheets app script and like sending results and matching rates. Then moved into, again, like voter ballot guides for elections here in Massachusetts in the 2024 cycle. Had a few thousand users. So it was great, people using that to, learn a little bit about what was on the ballot leading up to that election. And then had an opportunity to reset here and think about, okay, like what problems is Stump not solving today? And the light bulb moment was you really got to serve candidates. There's a ton of great organizations out there that are hoping to help voters, get out the vote, but none of them are solving immediate problems for candidates. And so there's like this huge information bottleneck. And if you want to get the data, you got to actually help the candidates tease it out. So that was the light bulb moment for me. And also understanding, voters want to be heard and have agency. So one part of Stump I haven't talked about yet, but you could actually like recommend people in your network to run for elected office.
Oh, wow.
So I think there's a bystander effect where there's a lot of people that would be great in local government, but they just don't feel called. And so Stump provides a public forum to nudge people. And granted, it's not feasible for everyone, and maybe serving on an appointed board or commission is a better fit, but that's part of the vision, right? Make it easier to get more people to run. I think competition drives better outcomes in local government in the long run. So that's definitely part of the vision here.
Man. Okay. So now that you're a year in, you've had your pivot. Where do you see Stump being in at the end of year 2 and at the end of year 5?
Yeah. So the original tagline before BML, moved me on to democratizing democracy was building the new place for local politics. And for me, that means 2 years from now, having a critical mass of thousands of campaigns on Stump so that it becomes the first place that a voter goes to learn about what's happening in their local election. Because right now, again, you're probably looking at Facebook or at a municipal website, and it's not giving you a full picture. So 5 years from now, when I have every campaign on Stumps, and not just candidates, but also, ballot initiatives, right? We had a number of ballot initiatives here in Massachusetts. It can be hard to learn about those as well. So, I just want to build a new home for local government. And I think 5 years from now, I would love to also, again, make it easier to follow city council meetings and sort of the output of, zoning boards, or like whatever interests you and what you want to tune into in local government, have a digest and kind of build out that data set. So, I think 2 years from now, hopefully thousands of campaigns and candidates, and then 5 years from now, hundreds of thousands. There's 500,000 plus local elected offices in the U.S. 96% of all elected offices in the U.S. are local, and some multiple of that in terms of appointed boards and commissions. So there's a lot of people serving in local government, but it's definitely quiet compared to the federal level, especially these days.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So one thing I like to do is ask the people I'm sitting down with, especially a year in, it takes a village, and, with respect to startups, there's always problems. And usually there's always somebody out there who can solve those problems. There's usually somebody watching who, knows a little more than, me, and more so than, the next guy and the next guy and the next guy and the next gal. What would help you out? What would somebody watching this in the community that gets eyes on this, if there was a pain point that you had right now for the company, and you just had a magic button, boop, it goes away, what would that problem be, and how can the community perhaps help you solve that problem?
Yeah. So part of the challenge with finding new local candidates for elected office is often they're not online, and it's hard to find them, right? So if I could snap my fingers, I'd just love as many intros as possible to folks that are, either recently launched a new campaign or thinking about it. And I want to live in, kind of the experience of a new candidate with a higher sample size, so that we can feel, those problems together and work through them. And I think it's important to, again, have as many beta users on Stump as possible, get that sample size up, and figure out, okay, what problems can we scope on the product roadmap more effectively. So if you know someone, or even if you're just really civically engaged and are looking for solutions, check out joinstump.com. Again, we need more candidates and campaigns on there, but I think that's the big wish.
The big wish. So if you are thinking about running for local office, or somebody who might be getting ready to run for local office, what's the website?
Joinstump.com.
Join Stump?
Joinstump.com.
Yeah, spell it
Stump,
just the way you think it would be?
Join,
JOINSTUMP.com.
Yeah, I was too cheap for stump.com right now, but at some point I'm eyeing that. So you better not buy that domain.
Yeah, we go like Stump US or Stump IO or Stump something else.
Yeah.
There's like a million of them now.
Yeah.
So that's what the community could do for you if you had your druthers and you had the magic button. Flip it the other way. What is it that you would be able to do for somebody watching right now in the immediate term that you think you could do for them? What would be a value prop that you could give the community at large?
Yeah. So over the last year, I've met a ton of awesome people like yourself in the startup community, and I'm always happy to make intros. There's some awesome tools like Happenstance where I'll let you search my network if you want an intro. Happy to join a group together. There's some awesome new programs. I just completed the inaugural cohort of Silicon Valley Bank and Bold Start Ventures Inception Stage Startup Bootcamp. So shout out to Ben, Hani, Jesse, and Ellen at Bold Start. So definitely check that out if you are building or thinking about building. Send in an application once the second Inception Stage Bootcamp comes out. Definitely.
Is there going to be want to give them a free commercial?
Yeah, let's
give Ben and SVB a free commercial because you just went through that the initial cohort, right?
Yeah.
The first time they did it. Are they must be doing a second one?
I hope so. so. I really hope so. And it's kind of important that maybe this first group can make some noise and get some serious traction and kind of show out for all the hard work they put in, and a ton of great resources, networking with angels, VCs. Also operators and service providers in the industry. So they're super well connected. And again, I've met all these people at this point and happy to make intros. And yeah, I think my one thing that I find myself pretty good at is being able to tease out technical ideas, because I am a non-technical smooth brain. So if you're trying to explain what you're building to me, I'm interested and I want to understand, and I'm going to stand in front of you and ask questions until I understand it. And I think like the mom test is a really powerful test. So I'm always a willing audience there.
Cool. So as we come up on the end of the interview, I'll ask you this: if there was anything left unsaid during our conversation, anything that you would like to leave the audience with as we close out here, is there anything, any final thoughts, any final points that you'd like to make as we get towards the finish line? Yeah,
I guess I think there's a big opportunity here. I know that the national mood is a little volatile, but again, local government affects people's lives a lot, and things like improving our schools and our local infrastructure and building more homes, like those are things that most people can get behind. And again, building Stump to facilitate that positive change. And so if that's something that's attractive to you, let's connect. I'd love to chat and figure out, okay, how can we get you involved? Because again, it's going to take more than a village. It's going to take a country. And I think people want to participate and want to do best by their community. So let's do it.
Very cool. Hey, Chris, appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Nate.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you have to cheers the mics every single time from here. Yeah.
Well, if you've watched, I want to thank you for spending the time with us, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.